think we can go to the next presentation. The next presentation will be done by Mr. Wulf Killmann,
Thank
who
you.
is acting as an independent consultant in Germany. His presentation will be utilizations of coconut trunks, making more and better products. So the stage is yours, Mr. Killmann, if you hear us.
Terima kasih banyak Tuan dan selamat petang. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I will talk about utilization of coconut trunks, resource properties and problems and products. We interchanged with Professor Friwald a bit, so he will build up on that in his next presentation. I will talk about the coconut palm as a tree of life and the multi-purpose tree, the distribution worldwide, anatomy, basic and mechanical properties, housing and logistics, the potential for rural small industries, and finally, I will show you some products. Cocos nucifera is growing in the tropics. It's a pantropic palm along coasts and rivers. We distinguish tall and hybrid and dwarf varieties. The original ones are the tall ones. The hybrid varieties were only developed in the last century to have better access to the nuts and also to have a higher yield. Originally, coconut palms were used in an artisanal form, such some palms growing around villages. Plantations only started in the 1870s by the colonial powers. The primary product is copra, and the copra yield the coconut palm stem really becomes of interest for wood users. However, wood always is and would be a byproduct. With at the end of its production life, having 100 to 130 pounds per hectares, the coconut palm produces about 1 cubic meter material per palm stem, of which is only about half millable. Naturally, this depends also on the variety and the site conditions. Coconut palm is an important provider for rural population and has always been. Nowadays, the ownership is mostly in the hands of local smallholders. In Indonesia alone, about 6.6 million farmers rely on coconut-based products. Important to remember is that for the past 120 years, there has been no conversion of natural forests to coconut palm plantations. Usually old plantations are replaced by new ones. There's no new land conversion. And coco-wood can substitute wood from natural forests, just as we heard also about the oil palm on Monday. It is thus, coco-wood is thus a sustainable and eco-friendly resource. The traditional use is copra, the dried meat of the coconut, and Indonesia and the Philippines are the major producers of this product. The coconut also provides coconut milk, in Latin America called nata de coco, coconut water, virgin coconut oil, coconut butter, vinegar, and flour. The fibers of the husks, also called coir, are used for ropes, mats, car seat fillers. The coconut shell is of very high density and it provides excellent charcoal, also activated charcoal, and fuel. The vegetation cone can be eaten as a vegetable, and it also provides palm wine in some countries called toddy. And finally, the stem gives us coco-wood. The palm fronds in some countries are used for roofing, and also palm plantations can be used for agricultural crops in underplanting or for cattle grazing. And for example, the Pacific island nation of Vanuatu produces under coconut palms very highly cherished beef. The plantations are often overaged, and where the replanting of senile palms is necessary. However, smallholders mostly lack funding for replanting or for quality seed material. Agronomic practices are often poor, and so are the quality products, or so is the quality of the products. Coconut palms, when they are replaced, have to be removed from the plantation. Otherwise, we would provide a breeding ground for the rhinoceros beetle, Orycterus rhinoceros, which from there would attack the new plants. Due to its spread over many remote islands, the supply chain for the coconut palm wood can sometimes be a challenge. And finally, prices are fluctuating. Worldwide, we have now about 12 million hectares planted with coconut, provide about 22 million cubic meters of coconut wood per year. Major producers are Indonesia, Philippines, and India. The gray bar is the area, and the red bar is a potential trunk volume. Here we see a cross-section of a trunk. So you see the cortex and the central cylinder. The black spots are the vascular bundles, and the whitish stuff is the parenchymatic tissue in between. Sorry. Now here we have a close-up of the tissue, and the black spots are the vascular bundles. We have heard about that also on Monday on oil palms. The whitish are the parenchymatic tissue. On the top, it's a denser material. On the bottom is a less dense material. So you can see there's a cut from outside to inside. The vascular bundle and parenchymatic tissue around it. And here some vascular bundles from a high dense material outside. The parenchymatic tissue contains sugar and starch. Here's some starch globules. And as we also heard of the oil palm on Monday, the vascular bundles contain silica cells, which are provide quite a challenge for processing. To the morphology, the vascular bundles are embedded in the parenchymatic tissue, as we have seen. They increase linearly over stem height and decrease logarithmically towards the stem center. The lignification and the cell wire thickness increase with age. So as older the palm is, as more wood material it can produce. Here we see a distribution of coconut wood mean density. This is a palm of about 20 meters height, of a DBH diameter of about 35 centimeters, so very overaged palm, but of a good plantation stand. The orange stuff is a high dense material, above 600 kilograms per cubic meter, and the white in the center, the low dense material. And actually, the coconut palm stem is like a tube, where the center is very weak. And this allows the palm to withstand strong storms and hurricanes. This is why we have it on all these Pacific Island countries, which are very cyclone endangered. Based on the density distribution, we can say that only the bottom 2/3 of the coconut palm can be used for sawn timber. The upper third can be used, either it's unusable or for charcoal. As a result of the density distribution, we see here a cutting pattern for the coconut palm stem, which we propose. D are the slabs, very high dense material, which can be used for charcoal or fuel. A are the high dense material boards. C is a core, the very low dense material, and B is a medium dense material. The mechanical properties correlate with density, the same as with the oil palm as we have heard on Monday. They decrease towards the stem center and decrease over stem height. The shrinkage correlates with vascular abundance per square centimeter and density, and it also decreases towards the stem center. Average shrinkage, depending on the position in stem, is between 3 and 8%, and there's no difference between radial and tangential shrinkage because we have no rays. Coconut wood is also used for flooring, so we are very much interested in the hardness. Here, as an example for the mechanical properties, we see the relationship between Janka hardness on the Y line in the basic centrally density on the X line. And you can see that with the density, the hardness increases. The moisture content increases towards the stem center and increases with stem height. So in the top center part, the moisture content is the highest and can be more than 500%. This is also very important if we have to transport logs from the plantation to the sawmill. Only up to half of the weight we are transporting is water. Due to the moisture content and the starch, the natural durability is limited. The high density material has limited to medium durability, and the low medium density has very low durability. So use for outside is only possible for treated timber. We have a number of problems resulting from the morphology if we want to process coconut wood. First, the hard fiber sheath, the silica stigma and parenchymatic tissues, the density variation, the high moisture content, the sugar and starch in the parenchyma. We have drying problems, cracks, twists, and splits, and we have a cell collapse between vascular bundles and parenchyma during drying. And all these problems naturally increase the costs for processing. If we talk about harvesting and processing, coconut palms, as I mentioned before, are only interesting for the wood user once its productivity declines. The removal of the felled palm stems is necessary to avoid breeding of Erectus rhinoceros. In order to avoid blue stain or attack by insects, a transport to mill immediately after felling is required. As we have heard on Monday by Mr. Kisselbach from Leitz already, we have to have special tools for cutting or processing oil palm, tungsten carbide, or stellite. If you use chainsaws, it requires constant sharpening. You have to have good saw doctors and a good saw doctoring equipment at hand. And resulting from the drying problems, coco-wood requires innovative drying. Let's talk about the potential for rural and small industries. First, for industrialized processing. If you want to process coconut palm stems at an industrial scale, you must be very sure that you have sufficient availability of constant quality. The transport distance and costs are often forbidding, particularly in the Pacific Islands, where you have long distances from one island to another. In these cases, it is better to process the coconut palm stems locally. This can be done with transportable circular or bend mills, by pit sawing or sawing with chainsaws. Thus, coconut palm for remote areas. In fact, it has always been. Coconut like all palm stem material, and thus can contribute towards the protection of natural forests. In the Philippines, in the 18th and 90s, it was a building material for the poor. Coconut palm stem material per board foot was sold at the roadside for half the price of the cheapest local dicot timber, white lauan. And it has a potential to become or provide high-end quality products. Traditional uses of cocoa wood have been construction material for houses, flooring, stairs, tools, furniture, art, ceremonial products, bridges, and interesting is the case of the Maldives, where the fishing boats traditionally were built with cocoa wood. Now some pictures, chainsawing cocoa wood in the Philippines. Here, a machine shop selling coconut wood cut by chainsaw. Traditional air drying to the left and air drying to the right. What you see here is a low dense material. For that reason, it has such a light color. The Coconut Research and Development Center of the Philippine Coconut Authority in San Ramon in the Philippines, near Zamboanga City, had been processing cocoa wood for all kinds of purposes. I had the great privilege to work there for 2 years. And here we are building a cocoa wood chapel in Davao, Philippines. Some of you who may know Manila may also have heard of the Cocoa Wood Palace. This is a palace which Mrs. Marcos has built or has let build in the early 80s for the visit of the Pope. And it was the timber for it and the skills were provided by the research center in Zamboanga. We also built staff houses, all made of cocoa wood. Here you see the staff houses. The roofs are thatched with nipa, by the way, another palm. This roof is covered with cocoa wood shingles. This is a cocoa wood house. And here you see also banisters. Here you see the turned banisters, so it can be nicely turned. This stud is made of high density timber, cocoa wood timber. You can see the darkness. And this is low density material, non-load bearing material. A close up of one of the houses, a cocoa wood window frame, the wall panels inside cocoa wood, the outside panels cocoa wood, and the bricks we made with cement and sawdust of cocoa wood. Here's some high quality products, a rocking chair, again turned, and this very nice cocoa wood table. And here you can see the nice pattern of the vascular bundles within embedded in the parenchyma. This is a very light material and this is a very hard material. I would like to acknowledge the Philippine Coconut Authority and FAO with its Coconut Research Center in Zamboanga, Philippines. I would also like to acknowledge where I had the opportunity to work on coconut wood for 2 years. I also would like to acknowledge the Forest Research Institute of Malaysia, FREM, and GTZ, and in particular, Tan Sri Dato Dr. Saleh Mohamed Noor, the former DG of FREM, for allowing me to work there. And finally, my mentor, Professor Dr. Walter Liese. Terima kasih banyak. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Prof. Wulf, for giving a very, what you call the, bringing to us from the coconut, what you call the overview of utilization of coconut trunk and all these things. So I'm thankful on behalf of organizing committee to you for presenting your valuable findings on the coconut utilizations and its the product from it. Dr. Ali, you are around?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. So you are chairing the session, you know.
Yeah, thank you very much. As you said, it was a really nice and detailed presentation. And as we are